Life in letters.
My Life in Letters. Let's do this. We are excited to announce our new sponsorship with sprayplanet.com. You guys know the deal. This is where you go online to order the finest in MTN products. If you are in the US, this is where you should be buying your goods. At the end of our episode, check it. We'll give you a link so you can get 10% off your order next time you go. But without further ado, let's get into this episode. My Life in Letters. Let's do this again. We are on the phone right now with Twick from ICP FSC crew. He's in San Francisco. We're in Brooklyn. Twick, it's an honor, man, to get you on the phone and to be able to get your story on record. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, brother, and it's my pleasure to be on your show, and I appreciate it, and I love what you're doing with the show and
Thanks,
your
man.
Stuff with the letters too. It's a dope little style you got going on.
Good looking out. Appreciate that. That's an honor to hear from someone like you. You know, we were talking before the interview about just like your pedigree, man, your history. Like you go so far back. I mean, I don't know if I can argue to say that you're a Mission District graph pioneer. I certainly think you are. Maybe you'll be able to tell us more on that a little bit later. But what we want to hear from you is that early stuff, that early moment in your life before graffiti where you were struck by letters or where something in writing had some sort of effect on you. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Oh, for sure. Well, yes. My parents are from El Salvador, and they ended up here in San Francisco. And I came soon after that, about 3 years old. So I was pretty blessed that they landed in the Mission. And it's just a great neighborhood. I have so many good memories of the neighborhood. And
what year was that you moved here? When you were 3?
1973. So I was born in 70. So 73. So I did all the things, preschool, kindergarten, all that good stuff here. So pretty much from here, man. I would say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I was born in El Salvador for sure. Never forget where you're from.
That's right.
Definitely.
What city were you born in?
I was born in San Salvador, El Salvador. So I was born in the capital city, El Salvador, and then my parents migrated here, and I was pretty lucky and blessed to land in the Mission, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like I said, so my earliest look on letters as a kid growing up would probably be like the Cholo, the Chuco letters, the writings that they used to have would be like a penitentiary style. I would probably think, it probably started in the prisons, originated in the prisons. Probably, I can't tell you the years, but I know it was early on, probably late 60s, probably early 70s. All the Chicanos, so it would be like the Northerners and the Southerners, so to speak. They would have their own letters and their own hoods that they wrote from. So that carried on to the streets at an early age. I would notice, like in San Francisco, we'd have different little neighborhoods, and we would just call them sets. Little sets that would write their names, and everybody would have a nickname back then. Whatever it would be, Blinky, Chino, whatever it is. Everyone had a nickname back then. So, and the sets where we're from.
Do you remember that term? Where do you know that term sets comes from? I mean, I grew up out there hearing the same thing. I never knew where that term came from. Do you know?
Sets probably started in the Fillmore, I'm thinking. I mean, the Fillmore just probably came up with the word, hey, I'm from the set, Fillmore, I'm not too sure, but that's just something that I heard growing up as a kid.
Yeah,
sets,
me too. And I never knew. I mean, I remember kids saying like, "What set you claim?" And I remember thinking, I don't even know what that means when I was a little kid. Like, I don't know what a set is.
Yeah,
I don't claim nothing.
That is the first time I heard it was in the Fillmore. So
okay.
Yeah, we got checked as little kids out there for some Fillmore cats. And,
I bet.
Yeah,
and I'm interested.
You ain't from my set,
right?
And we're like, we're out of here,
Yeah, and so that Pachuco style, that Cholo style of writing, when do you think like you first? I mean, at 3 years old, I doubt that you could take notice of it because you're just a child. Do you have an age maybe where you can like pinpoint where you started really noticing that style?
I probably would go back to like 79, so 9,
so
10
like
years
9
old.
years old, yeah. And then as a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old, What do you think your understanding was of it, or did you even have an understanding? What did it mean to you?
So, like I told you, I grew up in the heart of the Mission. I grew up 3 blocks from 24th and Mission. Up towards San Jose, and between 22nd and 23rd, there was San Jose and Alvarado. There was a little street there called Alvarado. So my parents were, but before then, I was on 16th and Mission. They had a house on 16th by Mission, and then they moved to Cortland, and then back to that area right there as 23rd and San Jose Avenue.
Okay.
So growing up in that, that area, back then it was just different, man. We had the 4 movie theaters that were in like a 3-block radius. Cine Latino,
all gone
the New
now.
Mission, the Grand, Tower movie theaters, and it was just the strip was just happening. Back then as a little kid, I remember like my parents taking me to the movie theaters to go see Mexican movies, Cantinflas or all that, whatever movies that they were playing during that time. And so I was lucky to go with them. And I remember, I don't know, I think it'd probably be like Sunday nights or Saturday. I'm pretty sure it was Sunday nights in the Mission. They would have like cruising night. It would be like a jam-packed street with just lowriders and, lowrider bikes. And it was just cruising. It was awesome. It was badass. It was just a scene out of a movie.
And so would that have been like cruising, like literally people were cruising in cars, like there was like a lowrider scene?
There was like there was Impala, there was old school Bel Airs. I'm talking about old school lowrider cars. You know what I'm saying? When you look at lowrider magazine, we have a lowrider magazine.
Yeah,
those are the kind of cars that you see back then. And and so what happened is, like, I guess fools from Daly City were coming down into the lowrider show, and some beast jumped off with Daly City, and somebody got killed. I believe. I'm not too sure, but the cops closed that down.
You mean the SFPD stopped the whole cruising scene?
SFPD after a while, there was a lot of murders or fighting and this and that, or people getting stabbed. They shut it down. So what they would do is they set up barricades on the street where nobody could cruise and detour traffic some other way. So they shut that down. But I got to witness all that as a little kid. So growing up in the Mission, and so with all that, there was a lot of writings on the wall that came with the cholos and the neighborhoods.
So then would you say that there was a lot of pride then also associated with that writing, the way there was pride associated with cruising and showing off your car and your clothing and everything?
That's the Chicano pride, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course. You can't deny that, you know what I mean? Fools
And
are proud of their cars, Back then, we had a way that we dressed. We would wear Ben Davis or Dickie pants. We would iron them really good. We put creases on them, Pendleton shirts, buttoned up, nice looking shirts, and hats, nice, Bremen hats. These fools had style. They had swag. They came from the zoot suit era, I guess. The zoot suit era back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
They carry that. These are the sons of the zoot zooters, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And who in your family? Because I know, if you guys migrated here, did you have more family that was already in San Francisco? Is that how your parents ended up here?
My parents ended up here, so it was like just my parents and a couple of cousins. Uncles and aunts, a couple people. It wasn't too many. They left that lifestyle of El Salvador, and my dad was just like, I want to go to USA. That was his dream to come to America. You know what I mean? As a young kid. And
was that also like escaping violence and poverty that was in El Salvador? Was that the main reasons to go? The government as well.
Yeah. So back then there wasn't really the war going on of the 80s yet.
Okay.
So yeah, just my father just wanted to have a better lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's incredible.
Migrate.
Yeah, and so I'm curious about that zoot suit sort of like trickle down that was affecting all of the Mission. Did that affect your household as well, or were your parents did they ever try to keep you away from that lifestyle?
They never really tried to keep me away from that lifestyle of the neighborhood.
Okay.
So let's say what they did was in fourth grade, I went to Edison school. Let's see, and then I blew up an M80 in the bathroom, and it just echoed through the whole school. You can imagine. And the hall guards came and got me, and they suspended me from Edison. And so after that, my parents put me into Catholic school. I went to St. James right there on 24th and Fair Oaks, between Guerrero and Dolores. There's a little street called Fair Oaks. Mm-hmm. So I went to Catholic school. So that's the only thing that they did is they try to change that didn't really do anything.
How yeah, right. How old were you when that happened? That M80 incident? What grade?
So I was in fourth grade.
Okay, so you were about 10 years old or something at the same time.
11, 10 years old.
And actually, before do you left Edison, do you remember kids doing graffiti at Edison? Was there that Pachuco sort of like that Cholo style writing at school?
Oh yeah, that was there everywhere in the Mission, man. All the alleys, every like I said, neighborhood had somebody doing something. Mm-hmm. So the alleys would be covered in writing, people's nicknames and their hood, and we would do block letters too.
So you say
I remember the first time I remember seeing some block letters was on 24th and South Van Ness. So the street South Van Ness and 24th. Mm-hmm. It's a big time Mission in just block letters, and I was like, wow, what these guys, and that's like the first time I ever saw some blocks, and then. After that, I kept seeing that in different blogs, paying more attention to that style,
Was that sort of like what I would call like a gangster style, like ground up kind of block letters, like a little bit skinnier on top, thick at the bottom, like that sort of traditional, I would, call it gangster kind of blocks?
Yes, mm-hmm. For sure. And have like a 3D on the side.
Yeah.
Coming off of it. Yes.
And you had also said that
those are some tough letters, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Of that style,
Yeah. So you had mentioned that that you, like you said, we were doing some blocks. By 1979 or 80, had you already attempted to do some kind of writing, some kind of graffiti of your own?
I was probably thinking I was more into it around 82.
And so
at 10 years old, that's when I had first noticed all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you weren't.
I wasn't really trying to do anything like that at the time. Still a little kid in the neighborhood, trying to play baseball, football. That was my thing back then.
Right.
With the neighborhood kids, and so from the neighborhood kids, we had a couple cats. His name was Omar, who would tag Dwarf, and Jerome, who would tag Fast. And these two kids they went off city at one point.
What did that kid Jerome write? Fast?
Fast, yeah. It would be at first it was with an F-A-S-T, then he changed it with a P, P-H-A-S-T, and then Dwarf, and they were W-O-D, and Riders of Doom, and then that's probably like 85. I'm jumping on 85, but anyways, growing up in that neighborhood, these two cats had older brothers. So Omar's brothers were Neto and Jaime, and these dudes were already like, into cholos. The neighborhood, they had low riders, you know what I mean? They had guys coming over, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'd be drinking beers, and and I'd be like, damn, these dudes are fresh, they dress fresh, they got fresh cars, and they would write on the walls, and I'd be like, damn, I want to be like them fools.
Right.
Yeah. It's around 82, jumping to 82. So, and then, same thing with Jerome. He had, his brother John and Jameer, and same with those cats, you know what I mean? And so I was going around that influence of that kind of, thing going on in my neighborhood.
I'm interested also, like, because between 80 and 82, were you like an artistic kid? Were you drawing growing up more than like just crayons and paper? Like, were you an artistic kid?
Oh yeah, ever since my dad's like, ever since he was, you could about age 3 or 4, you would draw things, and then one time as I can remember, going back, maybe I was like 5 or 6, I don't remember when, and I drew a picture of Jesus on the cross, all bloody, and
wow.
And he had the throne on, and showed my parents, and my parents were like, no, don't draw that, don't. My dad and my mom were like, no, and then I'd be like, oh, you know.
Were they just saying don't do it because like they had so much respect for Jesus that you can't just draw that?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't draw Jesus. You gotta have respect for Jesus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
He would not like you, just that kind of stuff. And then I'd be like, what do you guys want me to draw? And then my dad would be like, draw this, draw. He would just throw stuff in the air, for me to draw, draw a horse or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit there and just draw stuff. And my dad was like, you just sit there for hours just drawing stuff. And you're a good kid, as growing up, you just sit there and just draw. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that's cool,
Yeah. Okay. And so then, about that like 80 to 82 time. Like,
okay. So with those older cats came, these guys were like studying, popping, you know what I mean? These dudes were already these guys were into that kind of that stuff. And I remember seeing that in my neighborhood. They would have like the music playing out there, and it was like the electro music, and they were popping and strutting. I'd be like, oh, these guys, you know what I mean? I'd be like, what the hell? And then Omar in the eighth, probably like eighth grade, he was like maybe two years or a year older than me, so he was probably like he also went to St. James. At St. James, there was a talent show, and he was just popping, strutting, and he came out with a routine. We were like, oh,
nice.
And yeah, and that's and so that's I remember that, and I was really like, intrigued by that, and so later on, I also had a friend who went to New York and brought pictures of some graph from New York, and went through his pictures, and I seen some graph, and I was like, wow. But that's jumping on to like 80, 82, yeah, around that era, 82, same era.
And when you saw that New York graph, what were your thoughts? Like, what kind of ran through your mind when you see those flicks?
I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the hell is it? What the fuck are they doing?
Was he showing you subways? Were they streets? Was it everything?
I was seeing like subways. He would like flick some subways, and it was like a couple of subways, and I was like, damn, that's fresh. And then I was already trying to imitate, the Cholo letters and the block letters, My sister lived on 23rd between Mission and Valencia there, and so in that area there was a comic book store. And she lived right up above the comic book store, and the guy Gary, he was a good friend, and he befriended us, and we'd be in the comic book store and looking at stuff and looking at lowriders and teenager magazines. He had all he had all the Cholo shit, plus he had all the comic books, Spider-Man, Superman, everything. He was just in that little store,
Fresh.
It's a little hole in the wall, and so I was blessed to live right. My sister would live right above, so I was always going in there looking at lowriders, trying to draw the lowriders, and they would have like an art section in some of the magazines, and I would just like try to copy that,
Yeah, man. King 157 told us about the centerfold that would come in those teenage magazines, and they used to color them, and they would have these like coloring battles. He said like who could color in those blank centerfolds the best, which I thought was a cool story.
It was just that kind of shit, and,
yeah.
And we had all that. I had all that within 2 blocks of where I lived, and living in the Mission and going down to the Mission, and you got to remember it was just infested with just gangs back then.
Right.
Everybody wanted to be in a Cholo or a gang bang. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what about you? What did you want to be in 82?
Well, I was already trying to dress like these guys. I was already getting Ben Davis and Dickies, and I was already trying to, my path was leading towards that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then grass came in around 83. I started getting really more into grass because documentary came out too, and and it was just. Back then, I was just like in love with graph in 83. I was around 13, maybe 12, going on 13 summertime. I had a friend, he would write Anti-67, Eric. He like mentored me in graph letters because he was from LA. So he was like a blood from LA, a Pyru blood. He was a strutter, a popper. He brought all that. He was like breakdancing. I remember him pulling out linoleums and breakdancing, doing routines and stuff like that. This dude was wearing the Cazals without the lenses. You know what I'm saying?
He was on it all. Okay.
He was already he was advanced you know, in his time, and he was 1967, so he was 3 years older than me.
Okay,
You know?
and so this guy anti-67, but you was that 83? But in 82, did were you starting to put up some like Pachuco style tags in the mission before anti?
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would. Wasn't too heavy, but I would do it on paper more. You know,
Okay.
more in the street.
And did anyone mentor you on that style, or were you just seeing it on the streets and in the alleys of the mission, and you were just sort of copying that? Teenage and Lowrider magazines, you were just seeing it there.
The streets were teaching me.
Yeah,
the street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you come up with a name for yourself in 82?
No, I was mostly just called Francisco Frisco. You know what I mean? I'm Frisco.
Okay.
Wasn't really in you know, get a nickname or anything, but I was down with these guys. You know what I mean? You had to be down with them, or you're gonna get your ass whooped.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then how did you meet that dude Anti? How'd you meet Anti 67?
So around 80. So around 82, and I used to live. So we moved from 23rd and San Jose around that time to 23rd and Dolores. So we went up 3 blocks to Dolores Street. So I was living right there on Dolores, and behind me was this place called Jamestown Community Center. So it was a big old yard, like I had my backyard. It was an alleyway, and then there was like the Jamestown Community Center, which had basketball court, baseball, like a little baseball court. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It was where people would go summertime. They would have like a summertime program there, and you know, where parents would come drop off their kids for the summer, and we'd go on field trips or, you know, play baseball. Anyways, they had like a little auditorium place, and people would just congregate there and just break dance. So that's where I met Eric, around that, you know, around at Jamestown.
Anti.
So,
okay.
Anti.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what his name was Eric.
Okay.
Eric Mabry. So I met Anti there, and we just like became best friends. You know what I mean? And he was the one that showed me like the markers and where to get them. We'd go racking. You know what I mean? As young kids, we'd go to like different art stores.
Where would you go?
You know?
Where were you racking, and what were you racking? What kind of markers back then?
So we would go hit any art store downtown. You know, don't remember that. Maybe Patrick's and Company was one of the names I remember. We'd go hit art supply stores and just look for Magnums, 44s. You know what I'm saying? Pilots.
Yeah.
You know, ink. They had little pilot inks, and just, you know, basically the Magnums were the ones we used to write with. You know, Magnum 44s and the pilot markers.
Man, I wonder just how many thousands of kids like that was their intro to tagging. You know, was through a Magnum. You know, like, it's got to be so many. You know, and then it's like so funny because like the Magnum just became such a terrible tool later when we had better tools. You know, but at first, man, it must have been juicy, and it must have been like you must have been hyped to have that marker in your pocket.
Oh yeah, and especially when you go into the store and they got a display of Magnum 44s, and they got the black ones, they got, you know, the blue ones, they had all different, you know.
And actually, I'm curious about that Anti. So you said he was from LA and that he was a Piru. So did his sort of gang affiliation start to just, I mean, not trying to joke, but like color everything that you guys were doing in a way?
It was he wasn't more. He was from there, but he didn't bring that attitude with him.
Okay. Okay.
So this, you know, he was African American kid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he was just down for just like going out. He would take me out. We would go, you know, racking, and he was just like mentoring me in this set. You know what I mean?
But you could be around. You could be around like could you walk through like a Crip kind of like area, and it, you know. Or whatever. Could you walk through any neighborhoods with him and it wouldn't be a problem?
So we weren't really involved into Crips and Bloods.
Okay.
We didn't have that. I'm pretty sure they were here, but we weren't really about Crips and Bloods back then. It was mostly about like neighborhoods,
right?
You know, different neighborhoods. Okay. You know what I mean?
Okay. I was just curious because you mentioned that he was
Geneva, starting from the top from like Geneva Tower,
right?
And you go down to like Excelsior, the E-Mob, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have Cortland and Richmond, You go down a little more, you have Holly Park.
Yeah.
And, you have 30th Street, and then you go down, 26, and then you have the Army Project,
Mm-hmm.
and 24th and 25th Little Park, just little different little sets, that you have throughout the whole city,
Okay. And so Anti didn't bring up his LA thing. He was just all about like graph and teaching you and just doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he was always flamed up. He was always in red.
Mm-hmm.
So he was always in red,
Okay.
He was wearing red. He'd have that, but he really wasn't about teaching me how to become a blood. Or
okay, so he wasn't trying to rub that off on you. Okay, all right, cool. Just wanted
he was trying to rub more of the sketches that he brought. And I was
yeah,
like, wow,
and so,
looking at the sketches and characters and shit.
Yeah, I'm curious about his style. I mean, he's from LA, but I'm just curious, like what the look of his graph was early on. At least your memory of it.
Yeah, just probably like a funk style, but also just dimensional. We had characters 3Ds already, and it was just like a dimensional style. And to me, it's like, damn, this dude is he was advanced. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Plus, he was from Daly City too. He lived in Daly City, and back then, I remember meeting some Daly City cats back then too. There's a cat named John Bizarro back then. I met him, and Bizarro used to tag Lime before Bizarro.
Oh yeah,
so he
Lime.
Yeah, that's Lime. Yes, I remember meeting Bizarro one time with Anti, and just going through Daly City and meeting those cats, and Doug and stuff. And but yeah, he was from Daly City, so this cat, he's just like teaching me this shit and going out and going out in the neighborhood and doing pieces in the alleys and behind the train tracks where the Muni goes. There's like a little area up there by Chattanooga and like Church. So we have the Muni Metros, the rail system trains that go back there, the J Church. We bomb those walls, and we go to like the Mission High School, bomb some walls there. We go to different little like the high schools,
And so, like, what was so if he was Anti was showing you like his sketchbooks, he was teaching you letters, he's teaching you other small things too, like where to rack and how to like have your markers. Do you remember the first time that you guys went to put some paint on a wall, some spray paint on a wall?
The first time we put spray paint on the wall, he helped me with my first piece. Before I was Twick, so hanging out at Jamestown in '83, I was into breakdancing because we'd gather up and breakdance, and then I met a lot of cool cats back then. You know what I'm saying? Like Zest from KGB would come down there and breakdance. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And he had some pictures, and I remember meeting that guy, and I was just like, damn, this dude is dope, And anyways. So I was more into breakdancing first, and then my first piece said Easy Freeze because that was my name. My breakdancing name was Easy Freeze.
Easy Freeze.
And so we did some bubble letters or attempt to do some letters, and he'd help me there. He was there. You know what I mean?
Where'd you guys do that first piece?
So my first piece was behind the alley behind Dolores Street. I forget the name, Quain Alley or something, or Merced Alley, one of those names. So there's Dolores Street, there's a little alleyway, and then there's another street, Fair Oaks. So between Fair Oaks and Dolores is an alley right there, and right there behind my house, between 23rd and 22nd Street.
And so
I did it right in front of the Jamestown fence, so everybody would come to Jamestown, they would feel the Easy Freeze. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was that mission like? Did you guys? I presume you went in the middle of the night. Can you tell us about that first piece, how it all went down?
Yeah, just sneaking out from the house, jumping the fence. I had my cans right there already in my backyard, so we just grabbed them right there, stashed, and walked a few feet into the garage, and the mission was on.
And what about the paint? Where'd you get that from, and what kind of paint was it back then?
Oh shit! We'd get our paint from 30th and Mission, the Standard Brand paint store there. There's a Standard Brand by Safeway up there, and you go there, and they had a 99-cent tank cans, and we'd buy a couple of those, and then hog, rack the rest. It was just our spot, and then we'd go to other spots. I remember there was like a janitorial supply store in the neighborhood, and they had like a box of spray paint like right by their door, and it was just a full box. And we were casing that spot one time, and we finally just got the boss to just go in there and just grab the whole box and just run out the store with it.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, hey, we're just booking down the street trying to hold this, big old box of spray paint. So that was our first mission.
And so all that paint was like 99-cent auto paint. Nothing, no brands we would remember.
Yeah, it was like a 99-cent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cheap paint. It had like white, black, blue, red, maybe a yellow.
All like primary colors.
The primary colors.
And so, so what was it like? How'd you feel that first night doing that easy freeze?
Oh man, I was nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Nervous as hell, butterflies, and this is, it's gonna go down. I gotta do it, and it didn't really come out too good,
But you must have been pumped. You must have been happy. You kind of did your first thing, and also, what did your mentor say? What did Anti say about it?
The whole thing that after the guy found out that it was on his garage the next day, like he buffed it like around noon already. It was already buffed.
Oh man, really?
Like garage.
So no one got to see it on their way to Jamestown.
I don't even know who saw it, but it's.
Did you get flicks of it? Were you guys taking photos back then?
Oh man, I wish.
Yeah,
I wish.
Right.
I was probably like 12 or 13 back then. Really wasn't thinking about taking pictures or documentation of it.
Of course, yeah. And I'm also really interested if you know who brought up Anti, who down in LA or wherever he was from taught him. Do you know?
Man, I don't know.
Okay.
What
happened to him?
So Anti, he fell victim to the gangs out here in the Bay Area. So he got jumped from being Daly City. He got jumped in Daly City and got hit in the side of the head or something with a bat, or I don't know what happened to I wasn't there, but he ended up really being really getting fucked up, and so now he's just with his parents, with his mom, living with his mom, and he's just like a Cabbage Patch Kid,
Oh wow,
so to speak. Yeah,
really?
He doesn't have no memory, and he's just poor Anti, So
wow,
he got taken away. He got taken away around from my life around 87, 88, probably.
Okay. But so did you roll with them kind of like for a while in from 83 to whenever that was, 87? Were you guys together a lot?
For sure, for sure. He introduced me to a lot of the hip hop stuff, out here, the bass, the strutting, the popping, he had a way of popping and strutting. It was just fucking amazing. And he also had friends, that were into rapping, beatboxing, early age.
Also, you said he was in Daly City, and did he introduce you to Bizarro and Doug, or was it just because
he introduced me to Bizarro, and probably Doug too. Probably going to missions up there to visit Doug.
Yeah, I'm interested about that too, like how it was for you to be a mission kid, a graffiti writer from the mission, going up into Daly City and meeting writers up there. Was there any static, or was there any funk up there, or was it like pretty chill at that time?
Well, as a little kid, I remember running with LTM, Little Time Mission, Big Time Mission, and Sunflower Mission. They call it Sunflower Mission. I remember running with LTM. This is probably 80, 81, 80. I'm not too sure. I can't pinpoint, but I'm pretty sure it was early. Okay. Jumping on the bus with these guys and going to Daly City and looking for guys from Daly City, getting off the bus and just kind of smashing on where we see, And then after a while, I was like, man, I'm not really into this stuff, And so God saved me, you know what I'm saying? Saved my life. Graffiti saved my life. I was allowed to go into my neighborhood and do my own pieces because I knew everybody there. They were down with me, and I let him go do his thing, Just hit us up,
Oh yeah,
Hit
that's
on
what
our
they would
hood,
say.
Yeah, so I'd go down to the alleys, that are popular now. We're talking about Lilac Alley,
Sure.
Mercy Alley, behind McDonald's. That was all gang, SFM, Big Time Mission, LTN. Then down the street you had 22nd Hogs, just different gangs. It was just so and plus I had met the two cats from the Mission, Ned and Pengo. They were already down there doing pieces in the alleys too. One of the first two cats I remember doing this shit too.
Yeah, we're going to get Pengo on the podcast one of these days. We've been talking a little bit, just trying to figure out the dates to get him on. Who was his partner? Did you say Nat?
Ned, N-E-D.
N-E-D. So they were partners, Pengo and Ned?
Yeah, they had the 2 p.m. crew. Was the two Peacemakers? 2
nice.
p.m.
Nice.
So they're already doing stuff. So, and then, in the Mission, man, it was just amazing because 24th and Mission, everybody from after school, all the riders would go down there and meet down there, We'd meet down there, and plus that was where you could see all a lot of bus lines going by there, 14th Mission, 48, 67, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
49. And you got to remember, so the 49 and the 14, the 14 starts at the top of the hill in Daly City, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it travels all the way down Mission. That's probably like 7 miles, I'm thinking, that it goes all the way down to the end, there to the end of the waterfront there.
I'm sure, yeah, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, that sounds right.
But maybe a little more, maybe a little, yeah, exactly. So it's going down. It's going pretty much the whole city from the top of the hill all the way down to and then you had the 49 that also started from the top of the hill, but then they would turn on Van Ness.
Mm-hmm.
And it would go towards up Van Ness area, And so we jump on the bus, and take it to the top of the hill. And then, there's a lot of bus up there ready to leave, because that's where all the buses fucking met up. And so we'd go down there, get off the bus, hit the buses that were parked there, tag on those and jump on one and ride it all the way back down,
And so were you bus hopping with Anti, or had you been bus hopping before that?
I was bus hopping with Anti. Yeah, me and Anti were bus hopping.
And like for people that don't know San Francisco, especially San Francisco in 82, 83, what was the scene like with like bus hopping? Like how popular was it? Who was doing it?
So kids were getting into the yards or, bus hopping. Mostly it was just bus hopping. Everybody would just go and grab your marker, go to the back of the, just ride on it on the way to,
Yeah.
What's your name? And it was.
Had you guys gone into the yards?
We'd meet up on 24th and Mission, and we could see all the buses, who's bus hopping, who's riding that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just so everybody would meet down there, and
in Eric Spy's interview, Spy talks about that, like, there were just, like he said, you would look up at the windows of the bus, like the 14, and there would just be so many different colored tags. It was like looking into like a kaleidoscope. Like you couldn't even see through the windows. Do you have similar memories to the buses back then as Eric did?
Oh man, I was in the crew ROT too. I was like the leader of this crew called ROT. And there was this other cats, they were from the hood too, TOK, and we had a battle, we had a battle of just getting up, and it was probably like the most nastiest, grimiest battle that you've ever seen, and you can imagine ever, like every little space of inside was just taken over, windows, panels. Everything was just TOK, ROT, it was just, oh man, outsiders. And we just this was probably one of the most damaging battles that the city's ever seen.
Yeah, and I've had a couple. That battle's been brought up, I think, on 2 different episodes of our podcast. And you know what? I think both people, I can't remember who it was now, but both people said that it was hard to figure out who could have actually won that battle because it was just so much. Like there was so much graph. But you, being the head of ROT, and now we got you on record, can you call who may have won that battle between ROT and TOK?
Oh man, we got those cats, man. we took them down, bro.
That's what I was talking about. but I mean, I'm sure you'll admit.
And every time we caught those guys at the yards, man, we'd punk them too, you know?
Yeah. And so that was going down. Like you guys were inside the Muni bus yards, and that would happen. You would see dudes from TOK, and you would jack them for their markers or whatever they had.
Not everybody, because those cats were cool too, you know. You know, it was just I remember this. I forgot the name of the kid who was rolling with them, little young kid, and we caught him one time, and we were like, dude, you need to get out of here, bro. You need to jump out of here and get out of here, because we you know, if you don't, you're gonna get hurt. You know what I mean? You're lucky we don't take the markers right now. Just get out of here, you know.
And
but anyways, that kid, I forget the name of that kid. I've been texting my couple of my friends, but nobody's replied. But the biggest loss that ROT had was the loss of fate, man. When we lost Ed, we lost Ed. They killed one of the members of our crew at Holly Park. He got shot at and got a stray bullet to the head. And you know, you got to give it out to TOK, man. Those cats. They had King Razor, they had King Darks, you know, they had Dim.
Yeah.
You know, they had those guys. They put in work, man.
They put in a lot of work, yeah. And so you give a lot of respect to them, even though you had that pretty tough battle.
If you ask those cats who won, they're gonna say, you know, they won. You know what I mean? You ask me who won, I'm gonna say we won. You know, but we crushed it, man. It was a serious battle, you know. And
how did that start, too? Can you tell us a little bit of the background behind that beef?
It started over. I think Geos had gone hit over KR or Dark's tag. Went kind of like the letter kind of crossed over his letter or something. And then he came back, same bus, and kind of dissed him, you know. And it was after that, it was like different panels. You know, we had top panels of the bus, side panels. It was just like competition for panels, and everybody wanted to get this and that. And we're like, you know what? This is battle. This is, you know, everybody went to the same, you know, McAteer High School, and so we're talking to Darks. And
you were at McAteer as well?
Yeah, I went to McAteer as well.
Okay.
And then class of '88 at McAteer. So we, you know, everybody was just, you know, kicking back, probably, you know, lunchtime, and we just said, let's battle then. You know, what's up? Let's battle. You know, we had some coffee fulls. You know, we had Shock, Roll. You know, and we had a couple of people that were down for. You know, we had people that were down as fuck for our crew. ROT was, you know, down as crew. That's why I love those cats. Why I ran with those cats. I could have easily ran with TOK, BBD at that time, because those guys were from my neighborhood. You know, those cats I grew up with. That I decided, hey, I'm going to take over this crew. These cats are down with me. They're down. They're showing me that they're down as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm on with some down ass niggas who got my back and want to do some damage.
And what year did that battle start?
86, 87, maybe 87.
And before 86,
I can't pinpoint.
But it was right around there. You were a sophomore or a junior in high school, approximately, when this was happening. And we jumped a little bit because, you know, you did that first piece with Anti, those bubbles. Can you just talk about a little bit of like your piecing progression at that time, or if maybe there wasn't, and maybe you were just focused on hopping and just tagging? What was like your focus from about 83 to, let's say, your freshman year of high school, 84? Like, what was happening in that time? Because you had also mentioned that you were b-boying a lot, so I'm curious how you were splitting your time between everything.
Okay, so it was probably summertime of '83. You know, all the kids were congregating at Jamestown, you know, b-boying, meeting up, you know, breakdancing, popping, shredding, and, you know, also came riders that came there. So I was just down with it, you know, going and get my markers. I had my markers, going tagging, you know, catching the tag on the bus. But then it started more for me when I was in high school, going to high school, catching the 48 line to the high school, and just hitting the 48. Every time I would go in there, I would just crush the 48 line, you know. And I got more into that going towards high school up in McAteer, because School of the Arts too. It's called School of the Arts McAteer. There were some artistic people up there, you know.
Yeah.
That's where I met Jess Finesse. He was a B-boy, you know, break dancer. He was fucking ill. You know, he was in DVD back then. DVD. So he also had the cat named Swift, Bruce. So those two guys were like breakdancing partners.
What was his partner's name again?
Swift.
Swift. Okay.
Yeah, Swift. Bruce. So anyways, so I met that cat there, and he was a cool cat. But then, you know, we kind of had animosity because of BBD back then, you know, and but he had like enough saved some cats that were fucking dope back then too. You know, he was laced for some cats that were pretty raw. You know. Anyway, so met him there, and that name's gonna jump later on into my life, you know, because he started ICP, and I got down with them after a while. But anyway, that's where I met those cats there, and we had some riders that would go to McAteer, and yeah, so I was heavily into that during the high school because, you know, that's right. I loved it, you know what I mean? I can't deny it. That's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a graffiti artist, you know, my love for letters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
First love at first sight, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Also, in 83, 84, were you bus hopping Mr. Freeze? I mean, sorry, Easy Freeze? Or
no, so right after that, I decided, you know what? I'm not a really good break dancer. I can't do, you know, the gyro, the head spin too good. You know what I mean? Okay. So, you know, I left breakdancing because I wasn't really too good at it. You know what I mean? So I was just like, let me do this. You know.
Okay.
So I jumped into that. I left that, and I decided to write Twick.
And so where did that name come from?
Anti gave me that name, you know. The Wicked Inner City Kid was his thing. Like Twick, nobody writes it. Nobody's gonna, you know, nobody can come up with that name. It's an original name. Be original. Plus the letters, the flow. When I would write it, you know, you got to remember, San Francisco is known for the tag, for the one flow tag, the inventor of the one flow bus hopping tag. You know what I mean? And so it had that nice flow to it, that one flow tag. And I was like, yeah, plus the letters too, you know?
Yeah.
Like the CK, the T2 was kind of raw with the W, the I easy, you know, and the easy I in the middle, you know, bounces it all out. I'm like, okay, let me roll with this.
And so that was it. He gave you Twick, the Wicked Inner City Kid, and you were just like, that was it. That was it. You were happy with it. You never even thought about changing it.
Never thought about changing.
So 83, 84, now you're Twick. Did you start ROT in 84?
ROT was started in probably like 86, 87.
Okay, so then before that, your Twick, were you writing LTM? Was that something that you would connect with Twick back then?
No, I wasn't really writing that stuff back then.
Okay.
So from the Mission, first cruise that I remember jumping into was OP, Overpowered. And then I got into OTC, Out to Crush, and I was in WOD 85, WOD Riders of Doom. I was down with them cats, and then, you know, OTC, WD for a while.
Okay.
And then I went to high school and I made up ROT. You know, Reign of Terror. Me and Shock, you know, we ran Reign of Terror, and then after ROT, you know, I claimed DVD for a minute, you know. Just Finesse, me and Just Finesse finally, you know, I kicked it and BVD, so it laced me with BVD. But after that, ICP came to the table and was like, I'm starting this crew ICP, and, you know, I was just like, oh, that's dope, I'm down, you know.
And so what year did Just Finesse start talking about ICP to you? Were you still in high school?
ICP, he probably started around 87, 88.
Yeah. Okay, so you were almost a senior, right?
Yeah, I didn't get into it till probably like around 89, 90 with him, you know what I mean?
89, 90. Okay. And like, you know, I'm curious about like I'm curious about McAteer actually. If you can talk a little bit about what Mac was like in between your years there, 84 to 88, as far as graph goes. Cause I know that like, you know, we know that like Spy did one of the first pieces, maybe the first piece there. And as I recall, you went over that. And so, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And, you know, the only reason, I'm not trying to put you on blast on that or anything, the only reason I bring that up is because Eric talks about it in his interview on the podcast, and it was kind of a big deal. And it was a big deal on a lot of levels. One, it was the first piece at Mac, his first piece. And two, he had a lot of respect for you. And he told us that then when you went over it, he was mostly confused. I don't think he said he had any anger. He just didn't get it. But he did talk about that, you know, everybody wanted that fame. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, did that piece go down in 84, that spy piece?
Yes.
So you were both freshmen in high school, or maybe he was even a year younger. I'm not sure. No, I think he was also a freshman. I'm curious, man.
We had 6th and 7th period together for a long time. We had art. We had art.
Yeah.
Art for 6th and 7th.
He told us about how ill you were in the sketchbooks, man. He said that your drawings were just like out of control. Good. I should also give a shout out to Jonas, to Scooby, who says that you and Eric helped him with his portfolio to get into SOTA, to get into School of the Arts. And I think that's just like a brilliant story. But, so let's just talk about that piece. You saw that spy piece. First of all, you're the first person I'm able to ask, like, what was your thoughts seeing that spy piece at McAteer High School for the first time? What'd you think?
Oh man, you know, I was like, damn, he did it. You know, he rocked it. He came up here and did it, and it opened my eyes to like, damn, I want to do some pieces up here too. You know, it just was like, wow. And then we had the tennis courts wall. We had like the other back walls back there. We had the gym walls, and I was just like, now my high school looked like a place to come and do pieces. You know what I mean? Like, oh.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't know that it was Eric though at the time, did you?
I found out after, and then we just you know, apologized to him, and you know, it was like, you know, it was just over a spot. You know, Eric made me do it.
Is that true? Did Anti say something? Did Anti say you should?
We just came, man. We weren't tripping, and
okay,
let's do this spot. I'm like, really? Like, yeah. You know, it's a chill spot. And so I wasn't really thinking. I had you know, all this, you know, ready to go. You know what I mean? Just kind of like, you know.
But what's funny, what's funny, man, is that it was a pretty big wall, and the whole thing is blank except for this one little SPY, and y'all went over that instead of going next to it. I mean, was there like a fame thing? You were just like, nah, I'm about to take that fame away, or what was your thinking back then? And I know you're 14 years old, so I mean, you know, I can imagine what any 14-year-old kid was thinking, or what I was thinking at 14.
He did it in that one little corner area of the wall where it was kind of chill and nobody really could see you if they walked by unless they like went up the stairs, you know what I mean? But the other part of the wall was exposed to the whole school, and we didn't. So we were thinking, fuck, bro. I know we had the whole wall, and you know, I love Spy, my homie Spy,
of course,
and SPY, and when we really clicked with him, I'm like, hey, you should write your name like this. You know, take away the Y and put the IE in it. You know what I mean?
Yep, he told us that.
Write it like Spy, you know? And he was like, wow. Yep. I'm like, yeah, bro, come on, man, you're Spy.
So did you do a Twick piece over it that day? I wasn't ever sure what piece you put over it. What did you write?
We did a Twick anti-double vision piece over it.
It said Twick anti-double vision?
It was a Twick and anti-double vision piece over that spy piece. So we had two pieces in one. We had it. So back then we had like double vision. You know what I mean? Like your piece would say one thing and also could say another thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, so, okay.
So it would say like you know, Twick, but if you look at it this way, it says anti too. You know?
Oh, that's fresh. Did you get photos of that?
You know, oh, man, I think there's a photo out here somewhere lingering.
I gotta dig that up. Dig that up, man. I want to see that.
I gotta look that up somewhere. So, I think I might have a picture of that.
Okay. So what else was McAteer like? I mean, I've heard from other people, but like, what was your opinion? Like, was everybody writing? Was everybody b-boying? Like, how did it all go down back in those days?
Not everybody was writing or b-boying. There was like a little cruise of people that were, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, we had Flash, ACT, Spy went there, Guest and Hotel went there.
Mm-hmm.
Myself went out there, some Payson cats were out there too.
Right.
Can't Stop Us Now, another two, So we had, McAteer being kind of like above Mission, there's also Portola, but you could also have people like from the Sunset up there, like Chalk went there,
Mm-hmm.
I think, there's a lot of the writers that kind of went there. Those are just some to name a few, that it was cool, man. It was kind of like, it was a scene out of a movie, I can't name the movie, but it was just like, we had our, belt buckles, we had our so I left the Dickies and the Pendletons and stuff, and I traded them for like the after wash jeans, you know what I'm saying? Then we had the the Adidas, the belt buckles with your name on it, the tango hats.
Yeah.
It was just kind of just fly, what I'm saying?
No, and the whole thing was kind of hip hop influenced, yeah.
I don't know if you remember the troop shoes and
of course,
the TI
and jackets,
the TI jackets,
yeah,
and
of course,
tie-dye jackets,
mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff came into play. In high school.
I went to SOTA as well, but I went to SOTA when it was behind San Francisco State, so I graduated in '94, and for us, end of day, 250 writers walked out of that school and all went bus hopping. I'm curious what your end of school day was like. Was it similar? Did you all just get, juice up your markers in that final period and then just go mob buses all day, all night?
Yeah, that was my thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be the king of the 48 line. If there's going to be one line that I'm going to be king at, it's the 48. Every bus that went by had my name on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was my line for a minute, you know what I mean? But yeah, we had, Midas went to Mission High School. So we had a lot of crew, go up there, press the 48 tag. And it was just a mob of riders,
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, man. We had our own style, our own little cliques, small circles, small cities. So, when somebody did a piece, Doug did a piece down here, the news would travel fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, somebody that Zephyr came down from, New York, he did a piece in this alley, we just go check it out, Back then, Zephyr came down and laced a couple people too, we had a lot of influence back then. So, and then I remember in high school, maybe 80, 87, Mike Aguirre, cousin, was Oracle, and he came from Chicago.
Mm.
And Mike Aguirre had Oracle's peace book with him one time. And man, dude, talk about people's peace books being fucking bombed. Every page in this book was a production.
Nice. Full color characters.
Full color character, airbrush, big old book, like the big book. And I was just like, damn, this dude, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Oracle came and brought a lot of game to the Bay Area.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's come up so many times too in these older interviews, or these interviews of those older days. And who was it that had that book?
His name was Mike Aguirre.
What did he write?
He didn't write.
He didn't write. But he was friends with Orko. And
he'd be like, Orko's my cousin, man. I'm like, hell no, dude, Orko's not your cousin. I'll prove it. I'll get his peace book,
Uh-huh.
And one day he had Orko's fucking peace book pulled out of his backpack, and we were like, damn. For one period of English class, I was just looking at Orko's fucking peace book, you know what I mean?
Sick. Yeah. Before you ever saw that book, did you already know that there was a guy named Orko from Chicago?
I didn't know.
Okay. And I'm only asking that because I'm curious if in that 84, 85 era, if you guys had any sense of all the graph. I mean, you had told me that you saw flicks early on of New York. Were you guys aware that graph was happening in a lot of different cities? And if so, was that something that you thought about or that somehow influenced you on the daily?
Yes, I was aware of it, for sure. I really didn't know too much about Orko until he came down here, and I was like, then how news travels fast. Orko from Chicago, he's here, he's dope as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
He's, just being on McAfee, it's just like a little town. It's a 7x7 town, by 7x7,
Mm-hmm.
small city.
And
And
yeah, so that must have had a pretty. I mean, I want to see that book now. It must just be that must be an amazing kind of treasure. And so
yeah,
you saw that.
and
Did that like up your game as well? Like, did you start doing more black book work, for instance, or did you take it to the walls immediately? How'd that go down?
I always had that black book game, you know what I mean? As a young kid, and just going to like Patrick's and Racky and getting the design markers, the design markers.
Yeah.
Those markers and having the whole set. I was into racking back then. I was just like going everywhere, anywhere, just racking all my supplies. You know what I mean? I got in trouble one time racking paint, and cops busted me and, took me to my dad's house, and we got your son, and he was stealing paint, and my dad went off on me in front of the cops. You mind if I sock my kid in front of you? And the cop was like, "No, go ahead." And my dad was like, "Sock me," you know what I mean? Right in the face.
Wow.
And, well, I told you, you're just going to bring, Anthony was just like, "I don't want you doing this shit, this and that," and I'd be more sneaky about it, my tactics were more sneaky.
Wow.
So yeah, racking, you got to rack all your stuff. Plus, I'm a poor kid. I ain't got no money, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Parents ain't gonna give me no money to go get paint or whatever.
Yeah. You had mentioned going downtown to rack paint, and I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about what maybe the experience was of going down to Psycho City in those very, very early years, and maybe even your first time going down there. Do you remember?
Yes. I could honestly say that I was one of the first people to do a piece in Psycho City before it was Psycho City. And Bizarre has a picture of that, and he won't give it up, and he won't let me look at it. He tells me about this picture that I had, that he has of my piece of Psycho City, so he has it unlocked. But anyways, just driving around at night. So his friend was Marty. Marty had like a bug, one of the VW bugs.
Mm-hmm.
He was OG cat, from the Mission, into Cholo, but he was into graffiti too,
Okay. Yeah.
And he would write MY, my art. So it would say Marty, my art, the MY. Anyway, he would just drive us around in the bug looking for spots. Oh, here's a parking lot. And there's already I think it was Riff, bro. He did a Viva graffiti piece in the back of Psycho City. It's the Viva graffiti. And we were like, "Damn, let's do it here." We pulled the bug out, and did a Twick piece, and just casing spots like that, at a young early age, being in this guy's bug, and just going with the spots in the city.
What part of which building did you do that Twick piece on?
So the hotel.
Okay.
The hotel building.
Mm-hmm. But you had to see it. You couldn't see
not
it.
the front, but the side.
Yeah.
The side of the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
It also must have been kind of sketchy down there back in those. What year was that actually you did that piece?
Ooh, shit, man. I can't. Fuck. 80. I want to say 83, man.
Okay. And
83. Yeah, 84. Man,
and so
83. It was early.
Yeah.
There was no graph with that Viva graffiti piece in the back. Maybe a Cuba piece too.
Oh, okay.
Not too sure. I'm not too sure.
But there was nothing else really, and it wasn't even called Psycho City, of course, yet. Then once it did become Psycho, were you like a lot of these other guys? Were you going down there like on the weekends and just like hanging out all day and watching guys paint and meeting other writers?
Yeah, I mean, it was a trip, man. That place was a trip, bro. Because let's say you would go down there and do a piece on a Saturday. You know what I mean? And you go down maybe Sunday to catch a flick or something, and somebody's already doing a piece over your piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, damn. And so the memories that I have of early Psycho is of me and Heist just going over each other, kind of battling for spots in Psycho City and gigs. Back then, he was TPC crew, Heist and Rackus, and he'd go over me, and then he'd come back in, and I'd go over him, and he'd go over me, and it was years, bro, that I had beef with Heist for a minute, you know what I mean?
And so then years later, was that like something you guys had to squash, or was it just enough time had passed, and he was gigs, and then you both got into FSC?
Well, I just recently, maybe the last 2 years, got into FSC.
Oh, really? I thought you'd been in longer.
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably say pre-Syra, before Syra passed.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
I was down with Syra. Yeah, for sure. Rest in peace. Rest in power, brother. And so Psycho City was just, people would come and hang out. And like I said, there was just like probably 1, 2, maybe like 5 buildings that you could do pieces on. It wasn't it wasn't a big spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know.
But can you also talk about like what the vibe was like? Because, I grew up in the South Bay. And so when I would come up and I would just see Psycho City in like, I don't know, 89, probably the first time I really had a chance to take a look. I just presumed it was legal, right? Because everybody was just painting on a weekend, but like it never was. So what was your feeling if you would go there on a Saturday and paint? Were you just like at any point you would run if someone came, or how were you guys dealing with the fact that it wasn't legal, but you would paint it like it was?
I've never had no problems down there.
Mm-hmm.
I just go down there like I'm the owner of the building and just paint the spot. You know what I mean?
And no cops ever kind of rolled up on you or had any funk with you at all?
No, not really. Not a Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
Not a Psycho.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I know...
It was just like, go ahead, do your thing here, you know?
Right.
You know, we rather have it here than anywhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though, of course.
Back then, besides the bus lines and Mission Street being bombed, we had places to do pieces. You know what I mean?
Where else were you going?
Coors Factory, Pocket Park, Psycho City, Franklin. There was a couple of spots that you can go and do your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then it's always interesting. Like Doug talked about when the '89 quake hit. It just like, so many buildings got fucked up and then eventually removed that the whole pit scene started in SF, which was kind of like a pretty exciting time, for a lot of writers, because there were just like maybe hundreds of different pits that we could go and paint. But back in the mid 80s, you're saying that you had stuff like Coors and you had Psycho City. But were you guys also trying to pioneer new yards? Were you on the lookout for new spots?
Oh, always.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can remember doing scraps, I always wanted to get spots. You know what I mean?
And what about traveling more? Like, I'm curious because we haven't talked about that at all. Had you spent any time in the East Bay? Because Oakland had this really great scene happening at the same time. Was that on your radar?
A couple of times, but not really. It was more San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco had, Mission had.
Okay. Yeah.
But, Psycho City and our spots, Franklin Auto, it attracted people from all over the Bay Area, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and even further, like you said, Zephyr came down and painted down there as well, Yeah.
And so, to me, it was just like the spot to be, as a kid.
Yeah.
Plus, it was tough for me to get out there back then, either bar, or car, drive out there, Why go all the way out there when I have this here?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. But and I mean, I guess since we're talking about Oakland, did you know about Dream, that what he was doing out there, or had you had a chance to maybe meet Mike when he came like into SF to paint?
For sure, Mike Dream, rest in power, brother.
Yeah, man.
Mike Dream, man. Dream was in OTC with us in OTC back then.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was OTC. Okay, so you knew him well. You guys were crew.
Yeah, he'd come down here and paint Psycho City, paint wherever he could paint. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But mostly, I remember seeing Dream at Psycho a lot. Franklin Auto, maybe a couple times, but he'd come down and do those clean ass letters, of him. You know what I mean?
And then
Dream was ahead of his time, man. He was just super crispy, clean. He was a dope ass person, dope artist, tattoo artist. Fuck.
Yeah, Mike did it all, and it's like beyond a tragedy. I want to also hold on one second, yeah. So, in high school, you were at Mac. It seems like from what we hear, like your life was kind of about hopping every day. You were with your crews. You were piecing when you could. When you started to approach, like, let's actually going back to that ROT-TOK battle, because that was near the end of your high school years. You had mentioned that a homie of yours had been shot and killed. Who was that again?
Fate.
Yeah, Fate. You said your homie Ed.
Ed, yeah.
That must have been like that. Was that the first homie that you lost within like the kind of graph game?
Well, we lost Midas too.
Mm-hmm. Was that over graph beef? Both of them?
None of those were over graph beef.
Oh, so how did the homie Fate get?
Victims to the street. Victims,
okay.
Straight bullet to the head on Fate, and same thing with Midas. He got shot with a gun or something. It was the gun went off or something. I don't know.
Because I guess I got a little bit confused. I thought maybe you had said that someone from TOK had shot Fate. That's not what you said.
Someone from TOK also. So we both lost, that battle because we lost Fate, and they lost somebody from their crew. Also, they died. Someone passed away from their crew. So we both lost members of our crew during that time.
Was that something that also kind of ended that battle, or how did that battle end?
How did that battle end? Man, we ran out of space in the minibus. There was no more space.
Okay, that was just it, right? Every inch was taken. Sick, man.
Every fucking inch was taken, man. Everything was taken, bro.
You had mentioned that Jess Finesse started ICP in about was it 88, but you didn't get down until 89?
Yeah, correct.
And when he first made ICP, what did he tell you about it? I mean, I remember hearing someone, I think it was Scooby, said that it was inner city prophets. Like what was the sort of the conversation when Jess Finesse put you down? Do you remember?
Jess Finesse, man, to me, he was really dope. He was a dope person, he break dancer, b-boy extraordinaire, he's a DJ, he was lyrical. He had all the elements of hip hop in him, you know what I'm saying? He was a rapper, he was a DJ, he was a break dancer, and he was a graph artist, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he had the knowledge, that's the fifth one,
Right.
So he was already laced in that department, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, he was all around b-boy. And he was just blessed, man. And, just talking it up with him and I knew him from high school. And then plus Jonas, Scooby, that was his teacher too, that was his teacher as far as him sending him sketches, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So Just Finesse would lay Scooby with the sketches, and I came in, when Scooby came into my life through Quiz, the homie Quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Quiz was ICP already, you know what I mean? It was him, Quiz, Scoo, J-Rock, somebody else was already in that crew.
So those guys were all ICP before you got put down?
Yeah, those guys were all in ICP before I got put down,
Mm-hmm.
I was ROT head, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so those guys were in like 30th in, the 30th area, and I was in the 24th Street area, so it's a couple blocks away, because, same bus line, the J Church,
Yep.
So neighborhood kids, and then I was down with Quiz back then, and then, introduced me to Scooby, kind of like, take him under your wing, show him the ropes to this thing, and Scooby was into it, I showed him my sketchbook, and his eyes popped up, and he was like, wow, I want to do this, I want you to teach me, I'm like, you want to get taught, you gotta bring me some paint, you know what I mean? Bring some paint, we'll get the paint. And then, one morning, early morning, dude, my doorbell rang, dude, and fucking Jonas and Scooby in my door. I'm like, what the fuck? He got like a big old army bag full of Krylon. So this dude had a big old duffel bag. He's like, I got the paint. And I was like, what the fuck? Dude,
Yeah.
My nigga. And he's just like, Scooby was a beast, so.
Yeah, still is. Yeah.
And, I had a 67 Firebird back then, and, we started up the Firebird, and, and plus Scooby, we'd go like out of the state to go high, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd take him to like a art store way up in the countryside over here, you know what I mean? Some boonies or something, and I go, I point him out, there it is, bro, go get it,
Yeah.
I so to speak, I sort of like make them go rack shit for me, you know?
I mean, yeah, you know, that's that mentorship thing that's real. You know, that's how it used to be. It's kind of it's a part of the graph game that's almost completely gone, and it's a shame. You know, I talk about that with a lot of people about the lack of mentorship now, because who needs it when you have the internet? You know, I mean, I know who needs it, but like I think youngsters don't even care. They don't even understand. They don't know that was a rite of passage to have someone that made you go rack, taught you how to do these things. And so
I had anti showing me the way, and
that's
you know,
right.
so to speak, anti made me go get my shit, you know what I mean? Go get your shit. Nobody else is gonna get it for you.
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody that you're teaching.
Yeah.
You know?
And
your
so
student, you gotta teach them to rack your shit.
Definitely, man. Buff your walls, you know, pull out your milk crates, you know, do all that. So 89, you get put down
and
with
then
IC.
later on in life, the Scooby, the lesson that he taught me later on in life is like, I don't need to rack no more. I'll buy that shit by the pallet.
Yeah, man. You know,
I'm gonna order a pallet of Neon and Zorn.
Yeah,
like,
there you go. There you go.
Whoa.
Get that early Montana. Look, man, in 89, when you got put down with ICP, do you have any idea? Do you have any thought that, yeah, we're talking almost 30 years later,
yes,
you still pushing ICP? Do you think that back then that was even a possibility, that those dudes would become your family and would become your blood, and you would still be repping that today?
Oh man, you know, no, bro. Back then, you know, when I first got put on, I would never imagine that. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
These guys would eventually grow up to be my brothers and my families and sisters, and you know, and it's just the way crew should be. It should be tight, you know, tight crew. You know what I mean? Be selective of who you put into your circle. You know, you just don't put anyone into your circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
You just don't like anyone's crew. It was a selective crew of people that they chose to be a part of this crew, this family. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do. And you know, I think this is where we should wrap it up, because 1973, you come from El Salvador. 1989, Twick ICP, and the place to be. And I think, you know, again, man, we're blessed, man, to be able to chop it up with you, and blessed to be able to have you just give us all this knowledge, man, that you got. And we're thankful for it. So thank you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I really do. And much love and respect to you and everybody.
Absolutely.
Much love, respect, and stay blessed, and you know, give thanks. And there's always, you know, something to be thankful for.
I would like to send a shout out to my daughter Gianna and my son Marcielo, as well as my granddaughters Jocelyn and Liliana.
Can we put it on record that we'll be able to get you back on the podcast in maybe about 5 or 6 months, and we'll do a part 2 and get up to date with everything else that happened?
Most definitely, brother. You know, you got my number, and you know how to get a hold of me. And
That's
I'm here
it.
for you anytime you need me. Shout out, and you know, I'm here.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Fresh, dude. And keep doing your thing, you know. I see you posting stuff up on your Instagram. Actually, let's talk about that. Where can people find your work so we can see what you're doing? It's Twick ICP, or is there an underscore in there? I can't remember.
Oh, it's just one word, Twick ICP, TWICK
Okay.
ICP. And yeah, I just made it up recently and started getting back into it.
Yo, man, we're glad that you're on, and I hope everybody that's listening will go out and follow you, and you know, just check out that work, just check out that history that you've been a part of, because you really helped to shape the Bay Area scene. So I think that's it, man. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, my brother.
You got it, man. Thank you.
Life in Letters.
Thanks for listening to another episode of My Life in Letters. We record live every week in Bushwick, Brooklyn, USA. Our producer is Christopher Piccioni. Our social media manager is Jonathan Drexler. Our intern is Tamika Slesher. And my name is Adam Fujita. If you've got something to say, holler at us at our email, which is mylifeinletterspodcast@gmail.com. Check our new Instagram page at My Life in Letters Podcast. And check out our YouTube page, where you can click the link in our description to get 10% off your next order at sprayplanet.com. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.
The language of letters.